Well, joining us for this very special panel discussion is two very interesting people, and the topic of the discussion today is to do with the dating space. That's the online dating space. And joining me today is Snail Khanor from Truly Madly and Abel Joseph from IEL. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. I want to talk about the booming online dating industry. It looks like things are opening up now and everyone's out there back on their A game. What's been happening on the apps? Let's begin with you, Abel.
It's been good. I think right after the lockdown, people have, I think we kind of got out of the lockdown during the Valentine's season. That's probably when everybody who matched in the previous year, 2020, met offline for the first time. And right after that, we got on a spree of launching a lot of vernacular dating apps. And so the behavior there has also been something that we've been studying. And I think of late, people have been meeting offline, going to malls. I think also going to start going to the movies as well. So yeah, the dating game is definitely back in 2021.
Yeah. So I think, frankly, we didn't see any positive or negative impact of pandemic on the business side of things. Especially in fact, during first 2-3 weeks of lockdown, our engagement as well as revenue all touched the peak season metrics, which is usually the Christmas to New Year weekend, right? Because people are also behaving like if it was a vacation, right? People were baking banana bread, making dalgona coffee. And when then, the lockdown got extended, people realized it's not a vacation, it's a pandemic. And I think that is when numbers subsided to their normals. But we do see some permanent changes. For example, maybe because of most of our TG is working from home, people timing of using the app has shifted, right? Earlier peak time used to be 10:30 to 1. Now it has, and we used to see tapering off at 12:30 and 1. But now the activity keeps buzzing even past 2, and then it starts tapering off. When we thought about it, maybe because now people are waking up late because they don't have to travel 1 or 2 hours a day. They just have to, if there is a 10 a.m. scrum, they just wake up at 9:45, if not 9:50, and then just they wash their faces and come on the Zoom. And a lot of other interesting things that have happened is we have seen most of the first dates are now happening on Zoom, right? Earlier, there was this friction. See, I was always of a belief that this will become normal, right? This, what we are doing, but it was 5 years down the line, but because of pandemic, that leapfrogged, right? And people adopted this technology way before it was actually supposed to, right? So people are more comfortable, and it makes sense, right? You don't have to put in a lot of effort. There is a less friction. You are not concerned. You are not scared of meeting a new person, right? And you are not scared of Corona, right? So first dates we are seeing still happening on Zoom, and if that clicks, then they're meeting offline.
Right. I want to understand what's the kind of response from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because I think that's where we're seeing a lot of buzzing activity also taking place, considering that apps are also looking at vernacular, as you were mentioning, Abel. Tell us a little bit about how it's been panning out in the smaller cities.
Yeah, so it was back in, I think, 2019, right before the pandemic, that we saw the TikTok revolution. That's for the very first time that we discovered that people in tier 2 and tier 3, they're phone savvy. And of course, when you're phone savvy, you kind of tend to meet your needs using the devices that are accessible to you. And we understood that they were hailing autos, ordering off Amazon, getting things on the internet. And once people start transacting on the internet, you obviously want to kind of take advantage of that situation, being an internet company. So TikTok happened. We were kind of considering what can we do for tier 2, tier 3, and we always kind of had this idea, or that notion that IEL may not really be the perfect brand name for tier 2 and tier 3. It's a very it's a very hard word to kind of pronounce for most of us Indians. And then I think, again, right before the pandemic, I had a chance to visit home back in Kerala, some of the remote places there. And again, people were using their phones for most of their daily needs to be, pretty much like everything that we do in cities. They were doing this back in tier 2 and tier 3 as well. That's when the we kind of had this idea that, hey, you know what, if this is really happening, and we have expertise in certain territories in India. We've kind of segregated India into like 4 sort of regions. And we wanted to kind of win few regions. And that is when we thought it would be a good idea for us to release these vernacular dating apps and customize the experience for the people in that particular state. So it started with Arike for the people of Kerala back in February. And now I think we're kind of slowly releasing separate dating apps. We've already released an app for Tamilians, which is called Anbe, and another one for Telugu-speaking singles, which is called Nito. And I think there is a sense of belonging. There's a sense of, the people. I think the sentimental values of these apps, because it sounds like something that they're familiar with, starting with the name and the experience being tailor-made for the people who reside in these locations. I think the engagement has been slightly better than what we are seeing with tier 2 and tier 3 audiences on Aisle. And then, of course, we've kind of changed the payments. We've made it slightly cheaper. So everything that could be customized for that audience, we have, including things like astrology, right? On Aisle, we don't have nothing called astrology, but I think when it comes to like tier 2 and tier 3, maybe for the families, that's something that is important. So we've included that also on the profile. So again, very early days to tell if this was the right move, but so far so good. I think we're very happy with the engagements that the apps have been clocking so far. But I think it'll take us about like the proximity. Like, it's a proximity based business at the end of the day. So we want to acquire about 25,000 users in a city and have a healthy gender divide, and then start to kind of analyze the data and see, hey, you know what, is this vernacular dating app strategy working out for us? But for sure, tier 2 and tier 3 is on board with the dating game. And I think arranged marriages will slowly fade away and all of India will be looking for partners independently.
So, Abel very rightly said, arranged marriages will soon fade away. And, that is why so our tagline is start your love story, because insight is everybody in India, be it tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3, aspires to do love marriage, right? And not from today, since ages, right? Love marriages has been aspirational in India since forever. For some reason, dating has been a taboo. Right, at some point of time we have to go and teach, hey, if you want to do a love marriage, dating is the way, right? And that is, I think, what we guys are doing nicely. I think so tier 2 and tier 3 we have seen great growth, not in just in terms of users, even in terms of revenue, right? As of today, only some 55% of revenue is coming from tier 1. 2 years back it used to be 78%. Right, in 1 or 2 years, and all three, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all three have grown drastically. But the share is going to tier 2 and tier 3 combined are growing much faster than tier 1, right? So I think in next 1 or 2 years, tier 2 and tier 3 revenue will surpass tier 1. I actually had put up a tweet a few weeks back with a time lapse of India map, how our tier 2 and tier 3 has cropped up. And it started cropping up 2018, early 2018 late. And pandemic then definitely fueled it, maybe because of reverse migration, right? But I think bigger factor was geo and internet accessibility. And you can very clearly see on that graphic that post 2018, a lot of new dots are popping up in tier 2 and tier 3. We until early this year, we were only in English, right? We were only catering to English speaking users. Recently we have in mid of this year we went public live with Hindi. We are already in beta in Marathi and Gujarati, and by end of this year or maximum mid of January we'll be live in 13 languages, right? So as Abel rightly said, right, so they are all small micro verses inside. So we don't have, we didn't take the strategy of having different app or different name, because luckily for us, TM resonates with everybody. And it is a name that users have given us, not Truly Madly, TM, right? If you go on App Store and Play Store and search TM, Truly Madly will come on top of it. Unless somebody is bidding on the ad, then their ad will come, and then organic result, ours will be the first. right? So we have to contain them because we cannot match a Marathi speaking person with a Bengali speaking person, right? So they are all little micro verses inside the big universe of TM, right? And we are actually seeing amazing traction in Hindi, right? We have not yet started monetizing because we need to decide what are, because our current price points are, I feel, very expensive. If I talk about our ARPU, our M0 ARPU, which M0 ARPU is whatever we earn from a user in the same month of registering, right? Not even D30, M0, same month. Even if a person registered on 28th of January, within the January, how much they paid us, right? On an average. So our for tier 1, it is around 1600, tier 2, it's 1500, and tier 3, it's 1400, right? So I believe these prices may not fly well for vernacular users. So we are yet to decide what kind of price points we want to keep, and we have always been very finicky about the price points because we feel they matter a lot. So we are nailing that down. But I think a lot of users and revenue for us is going to come from tier 2 and tier 3 going forward.
Right. I want to ask both of you a question on investments. What kind of fundraise are you looking at, considering that there is a lot of cash in the market, money chasing startups out there? So, Abel, first tell us what kind of funds do you require? Are you looking out for a fundraise?
A lot. And I think we've always been on the lookout, but I think we're one of those companies who've been very frugal. We are not venture funded. In fact, I think we're probably the only B2C company that is not venture funded and has broken even. And so we like the control, and we don't want to give it away and we don't want to be guided on our growth either. And I think once you partner with venture capitalists, you're kind of expected to follow a certain Excel sheet where you're showing growth. But the unfortunate part about the industry, when you compare us, like a dating company with, let's say, food tech or edtech, is that not everybody is your user, right? You have to be able to identify those users who have the online dating etiquette, which in our opinion in India today is a very small fraction, a subset of the overall singles in India. And so we want to be very careful about our growth because it's very easy to attract those users that Indian women who are open to the idea of online dating would consider to be creeps. And so we're trying to stay away from that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have not raised, venture capital, but at the same time, we have a lot of prominent angel investors backing us. Having said that, I think it's about time that, we did look for more capital. I think we've kind of hit some kind of a glass ceiling. And for us to break that, we want to be able to work with influencers and celebrities and hire a quality team for us to be able to manage all the apps that we have put out in the market. And so I think in the next 6 months, we should be able to kind of attract the capital that we require. And once we have the resources, I think we would probably go up against the global players that we have in the market who've done so well to educate the country. And now I think 2022 is probably going to be our turn. And yeah, all the last 7 years was a preparation for that.
Yeah, so we raised 2 small rounds. So we rebooted the company in 2019 with a new leadership team, as you may know, as we discussed earlier also, right? So we have since done 2 small rounds, cumulative around $3.5 million. We have a very big runway ahead of us, but we have already, because as you said, right, market is very nice right now. So we are starting our Series A round. And we have some amazing people backing us in our last rounds, entrepreneurs like Gaurav Munjal, Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founders of InMobi, Dr. Arjun Vaidya, right? And there is definitely there is a lot of interest in the market in the last few months. We have been approached by almost all the big players in the matchmaking space but they always want at least, if not 100%, at least 51%. Like Abel said, we don't want to lose control, right? And I actually feel, we are just getting started as an industry. Back when Truly Madly originally started, IL originally started, we were definitely way ahead of times. right? I remember when we were launching Truly Madly, I was a founding member back then, fresh out of college. We had a intense debate whether to call ourselves a dating app and it is 2012, 2013, right? So whether to call ourselves dating app or a new age matchmaking, right? And we decided ki yaar, let's play bold and call ourselves dating, right? And but it took a lot of time for India to get there, right? For data to get cheaper, data to get accessible. I think this and I also see it as a natural progression from VC interest point of view. EdTech, now jobs tech. Now this generation, when who studied online, got jobs online, are not going to find love offline, right? So I think the VC's thesis will also progress like this. How our and I believe, I agree with Abel. A lot of users in India don't have the etiquette, but I think it is upon us to teach them also, right? So we partnered with the NGO called C3 for Change last year, and we have been running a long-term program called Safe Love with them, where we teach them about etiquettes on how to behave on a dating app, how to, if you get a match, how do you send a good message, what is consent, what is STDs, how to talk to a partner if you have one, right? Very uncomfortable things and some teachable things we have been doing in that process, because I think we will have to teach them, right?
Sure.
Right now they don't even know that dating is not a taboo. It is actually a way to start your love story, right? So I think that is upon us to teach.
All right. On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for this very interesting panel discussion. Lots of takeaways, and I hope to see the businesses grow in the coming years.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us.